evening. George will always remember this evening. Not only because he's a great man, a great leader, he's done tremendous things, not only in California, in this country, around this world, but what he will always remember is that we did not play the ninth inning of Game 7 of the World Series in his honor. Let's give George a hand. I can't tell you how much of an honor it is to introduce George to you, and I certainly will be brief. George came to Kaiser Permanente in 2002, and it was never the same after he arrived. I'm a lifer pretty much in Kaiser Permanente. I've had the honor of working in Kaiser Permanente for over 30 years now. So I've seen leaders come and I've seen leaders go. I've seen leaders try to deal with our wonderful but at times complicated culture inside of Kaiser Permanente. And George came into the organization and he was absolutely masterful in how he embraced the culture and then figured out what is the agenda now that I want to lead in this organization and gain the support of hundreds of thousands of people to make that possible in Kaiser Permanente and for this country. George established a clear mission, a clear objective, a reaffirmation of the mission of Kaiser Permanente, and then stepped into the leadership role and got the support of everyone around the organization. There are many things that George was involved in, engaged in, was called upon to do. Some of those things were very public. Some of those things were behind closed doors. George had a clear objective for Kaiser Permanente. We were, in fact, going to realize the vision of this organization to provide the highest quality care possible and make it available to everyone because it was going to represent the model for the American healthcare system. And secondly, George had an all-inclusive agenda. He embraced diversity. He embraced differences of perspective, differences of opinions. He thrived in constructive conflict, as I called it, in which when you started with George and you didn't agree with him in the beginning, his first assumption was, you just didn't understand me. And then he'll wear you down to the ninth inning, you gave up, and he was right every single time. George was a compassionate person at Kaiser Permanente. He said funny things, even when he wasn't trying to be funny. He had this Minnesota kind of spirit, and he had a famous saying that I actually am repeating in the organization. Sometimes I would say something and people didn't know if I was serious or cracking a joke, and I would do like George, I would go, joke. And now I'm enjoying doing that. I understand why George does that now. You kind of like that. You go, everybody's staring at you, they're serious, they don't know what to do, and you go, joke. And then everybody start laughing. So it is an honor, it is a privilege to stand before you and to present just a dynamic and wonderful leader of Kaiser Permanente. And under George's leadership, and what George then turned over to me, was an organization that is thriving, taking care of now almost 10 million people in this country. If we were a state, we would be number 11 in this country. George made sure that quality of care was made available to everyone. And thanks to George's leadership, the people of Kaiser Permanente, with pride, come to work every single day, living the dream. George Halvorson.
To kind of bring more celebrity to the house, I have a letter that I'd like to read to our Hall of Famer, to George, from a very important woman. Dear George, I'm delighted to join with your family, friends, and colleagues in extending my congratulations as you are honored by the Bay Area Council for your visionary leadership. Time and time again, you have been the driving force behind initiatives that help improve the health and well-being of children and families. From Kaiser Permanente's powerful Thrive campaign messages encouraging simple actions to impact health, to the Bay Area Council's baby clothing prompting parents to talk, read, and sing, you're a source of innovation and inspiration, and it is fitting that you should receive this well-earned honor. And on a personal note, allow me to thank you for the wise counsel you have provided to me as an advisor to the Clinton Foundation, that's a hint on who it might be from, and Next Generation's Too Small to Fail initiative. I'm grateful for your leadership in engaging the business community through your work as chair of the Bay Area Council's Early Childhood Education Committee. You truly have been firing on all cylinders with your contributions to the development of Too Small to Fail's national campaign to close the word gap. Your leadership in First 5 California statewide, Talk, Read, and Sing campaign, and by bringing the Bay Area Council and Too Small to Fail together in partnership to tackle the word gap locally in Oakland. While I regret I am unable to be with you on this very special occasion, perhaps she was at the World Series, please know that I am sending my congratulations on all that you've achieved thus far, and that I am cheering you on for continued success in all your worthy endeavors. Onward, with warmest regards, sincerely yours, Hillary Rodham Clinton. You heard Secretary Clinton mention the Talk, Read, Sing initiative that the Bay Area Council and Too Small to Fail launched in Oakland this past summer in partnership with UCSF's Benioff Children's Hospital, Oakland, and Kaiser Permanente. And there you have the word again, we've been using it a lot, partnership. So we have these fabulous tote bags, I hope, I will show them to you, that are being distributed to thousands of disadvantaged families throughout Oakland. So the whole idea of these bags is to talk about starting the process of talking, reading, and singing to children when they're babies, when they're infants, right? And trying to get that, we're starting in Oakland and then spreading from there, but it's an initiative that makes a huge difference in people's lives. So right now, I'd like to take a little moment, and then we'll do our champagne toast. Let's learn a little bit more about the man Senator and Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton was talking about, George Halvorson.
My father was a huge influence on me. My father was a very solid, honest person with a great sense of service. And my mother also was a leader in everything she did. So I have great parents who both have lived lives of service and accomplishment, and both with absolute ethics.
He's an amazing thinker. His mind works in ways that he just can really unfold and peel the onion back and understand the complexities of things very quickly, but take those complexities and figure out how we're going to move forward to advance the outcomes.
Well, I really like being a CEO. It's a great job. You need to figure out what the organization needs done, and then as CEO, you need to put the pieces together to do it. When I originally got to Kaiser Permanente, we had some pretty good scores, but we weren't number one in a lot of scores, and I was very happy and very proud when we got to number one.
George, when he first came to Kaiser Permanente, was laser focused on Kaiser Permanente, on lifting our capabilities up, on helping us realize the potential that we had to be the very best. George understood that in a time of great change in the organization, it was going to be critical to connect with people around why things were changing, what the changes were about, what was expected of people. And he had a unique way of doing that by writing letters to the entire organization every week.
The first letter that I actually wrote to all of the people at Kaiser Permanente was a letter that said we're going to be a very diverse organization. We're going to celebrate our diversity. Our diversity is going to be an asset and a strength.
I believe that George very strategically used these letters to help set the culture of this organization in a way that you could not do with a memo from the CEO to employees, but to connect with them personally through these letters directly from George Halvorson.
I think the intent of those letters was to keep setting the direction and reminding people in the organization of what the direction was. If people read those and said, oh, I'd better be doing such and such in order to live up to that, that was all the better.
Which he always signed every single week, "Be well, George."
First coming into the organization and putting a stake in the ground and saying we're going to move forward with electronic medical records. He understood what that meant in terms of data, what it meant in terms of our ability to manage quality, our ability to manage variation. And so he put a stake in the ground and he really moved the organization in that direction.
We can put everything on the computer and then make that available to caregivers in a support setting. We can do things to scale that other people can't do at all. We have an electronic medical library that's the best electronic medical library in the world. And so being big in this case wasn't a handicap, it's actually a huge asset. But it's only an asset if you turn it into an asset.
So I think it was a very deliberate process. It was a process of getting people to step back from where they were to understand what we were trying to accomplish and what the future, a lot of this was about, what is the future going to be and how is this system going to help us become the leaders of healthcare in the future?
We spent the $4 billion and the asset worked and the caregivers used it and they used it in very smart ways. And so the result of that was we won all the quality awards.
What I love about George is that he treats all people the same, regardless of the work that they do or the place that he sees them. He's always friendly, he's always interested in people, and people really feel that about him.
And I remember that we were all very nervous because there was this new CEO coming into the organization. And he came and he told his story. And we were surprised that a part of George's story was to talk about diversity.
And one of the things I believe, because Kaiser Permanente was the most diverse organization in the country in healthcare and still won J.D. Power's Consumer Reports, HEDIS, won all of those things, that you can take diversity and you can make it into a real strength.
George is visionary and strategic in his thinking, and George engages the people because he knows it's through the teams, it's through the people, it's having them engaged in what we're doing, having them believe in what we're doing, having them understand why we're doing it, that we're truly going to be able to optimize the opportunities that we have, both Kaiser Permanente as an organization and as a nation.
He said, Kaiser Permanente never defined me. And so I'm looking forward to my next challenges.
The work he's doing now around early childhood development. He got fascinated by the evidence on how critical that early period was and how simple, direct things like reading to a child could make a huge difference in their future and their prospects for the future.
We've got to go to those kids, and we know that that cycle starts in the first 3 years of life. That's when the neurons in the brain develop. That's when the connectivity happens. Every kid we save is a kid we save. You can literally save kids one at a time by intervening in their lives and giving them that education. Every kid we lose is a kid we lose. And now is when you either save or lose the kid. So we need to get people involved now. And I think there is a critical mass. I think we need to do this work and we need to do it now.
George, come on up, and you are going to get the biggest champagne toast of your life right now. Everybody grab their champagne. A toast to the Giants and to George. Let's go, Giants! Congratulations, George.
George, we're all very proud of you for bringing in the Giants tonight and for building a great organization. And we hope you have room for this in your full trophy case, but I'm sure you'll find room. Yes, well, congratulations. I'll hold this one.
Thank you. That had to be the best and most interesting introduction I will ever get anywhere in my life. One of my sons just said, you know, I came here sort of to just listen to you talk, and I really did not expect to have a great evening. And unexpectedly, we actually had a wonderful evening. So this is a great honor. This is a tremendous honor. The Bay Area Council does incredible work. The Bay Area Council protects the Bay Area, protects the environment of the Bay Area, protects the economy of the Bay Area, protects the population of the Bay Area. The Bay Area Council is an organization of substance that does substantive things and does them incredibly well. And to get an award from the Bay Area Council is just a very special thing for me, because I have so much respect for the Bay Area Council, its work, and its people. So thank you very much. It's a really wonderful award to receive. I'd like to make a point about an important issue, and that is when you look at what is the best predictor for who's going to end up in prison at age 18, it is the number of words in their vocabulary in kindergarten. Kindergarten. The best predictor for who's going to be in jail. And when you look at who's in jail, we have 3 times as many people in jail as any country on the planet. And 70% of the people in our jail can't read. They literally can't read. So when they finish their prison terms, they can't go out and apply for a job because they can't even fill in the job application. So people go back into a life of crime, and the crime infrastructure supports them, and they do more criminal things, and we get this cycle of crime, and our prisons are full and overflowing, and the people in the prison can't read, and we can predict with 80% accuracy by age 3 who's going down that path. Age 3. It's the first 3 years of life when the neurons develop and connect in kids' brains. First 3 years of life. And if you exercise a child's brain, if you read, talk, sing, you saw the materials from the Bay Area Council materials. If you read, talk, sing to the child, if you interact with a child, then the brains grow strong, the neurons connect. There are millions and millions of connections happen. And when that doesn't happen, when the kids don't get that stimulation, they end up with really weak vocabularies. They literally end up knowing hundreds of words when the other kids know thousands of words, and they never catch up, because that's when the brain develops. If you miss that opportunity, if you miss those first 3 years and you don't take advantage of it, then those children are in a bad trajectory for their entire life. So we need everyone to know that. People don't know that. We've reached out, we've done a whole bunch of focus groups, we've done a lot of research. Mothers don't know that, fathers don't know that, the world doesn't know that. Most of the people in this room didn't know all of the things I just said. But when everybody does know it, we need to make this a public health campaign, because we need everyone to know this, because when everyone knows it, then everyone can make a difference. So we need to make that difference, and that's part of what I'm working on right now going forward. I'm chairing the First 5 Commission for the state of California, and I'm doing some other things. I chair the Bay Area Council Commission or Committee on Early Childhood. I'm going down that path. I'd just like to say something about Kaiser Permanente, though. Slightly over 12 years ago, I was happily doing my job back in Minnesota, running a health plan that looks a lot like Kaiser Permanente. It was a vertically integrated health plan. We owned clinics, we owned hospitals, we were not-for-profit. I loved that job. We had put in an electronic medical record. The electronic medical record worked. We were improving care, winning quality awards. I was on a happy trajectory, and I was planning to retire at age 60. And my retirement at age 60 was then going to be focused on a couple of issues. One of them was working on issues of intergroup conflict and racism, those kinds of issues, because I had a sense the country is going in bad directions, and we need to work on that. And the other was to work on issues with children. And I had started a commission in the state of Minnesota. We had a committee, we had the governor and the mayors and hospital association working on the first 3 years of life. And so I was on a path to retire at age 60, and David Lawrence made the decision to retire at Kaiser Permanente, and headhunters from Kaiser Permanente called me up and asked me if I wanted to come to California, and I said no. I said, I've got my path, I'm on my trajectory, I know where I'm going, and so I don't want to do that. About a month later, I got a call from Karen Ignani, who was the head of the National Health Plan Association. And Karen said, I was just talking to the headhunters from Kaiser Permanente, and they told me that you said no. You wouldn't talk to them. And I said, yes, because I'm doing what I'm going to do, and we're doing good things in Minnesota, so that's my future. And Karen said, that's really stupid. That's a really, really bad decision, because she said the things you're doing in Minnesota with a medical record, you're doing in a little clinic, little setting, in Minnesota. People are going to say it's the People's Republic of Minnesota. Discount whatever you do. And if you go to Kaiser Permanente, and if you get those same kinds of successes at Kaiser Permanente, that can create a model for the world and the country, and that's the place to go. And Karen was very persuasive. So I sat down and talked to the Kaiser Permanente board, and I said, if we went down these paths, would you be willing to support these paths, and would this be the trajectory you would be happy with? And they said, yes, sounds good. Let's try that. So they hired me. And I said, I will work only 10 years. I need to get back to this other set of things. I need to get back to my issues of racism. I need to get back to my children's issues. So I will do a 10-year contract, and then I need to get back to the other work. But I think 10 years is more than long enough to put Kaiser Permanente where it needs to be. And so I went down that path, and Karen was exactly right. Kaiser Permanente is absolutely a magnificent resource, incredible. It has hospitals, clinics, pharmacies, labs, it has electronic systems, it has financial resources, it has really smart systems people. It's got some great doctors, and when we started putting things together, and Bernard touched on this, and we put all the systems in place and put the medical best practices in place and started supporting each other and doing team care, we ended up winning J.D. Powers, and we won Medicare. We swept the Medicare 5-star awards for the nation on best quality of care. We won NCQA best quality of care, and the numbers are even better this year after I've retired. Bernard, well done. The numbers, all the NCQA numbers have gone to a higher level, and when I left, KP had the highest scores in the country, highest scores in the entire country out of 550 plans on 29 different issues. So, well done. So I knew I could leave. The board asked me to stay on a little while longer. I said, I'll stay a little bit longer, but not much. So I basically did stay a little bit past the 10 years, but I'm now back on the trajectory that I really want to be on. I am working on those other issues. I'm working on the intergroup issues, and I'm working on the children's issues. And Kaiser Permanente is in great hands. Kaiser Permanente has really good people with a really great sense of values and a great skill set who are doing really good work and are an asset and a blessing to this community and also to healthcare in general. So I feel no guilt about leaving. I think I left at the right time. So this is wonderful. This is absolutely wonderful. And I do believe that what the Bay Area Council is doing on early childhood should be a model for business leaders all over the country. The rest of the country needs to get behind this because we need to save those children. And if we don't save them, they're gone. So let's save them, and thank you very much for this award.
Well done, Chris.